Hi everyone, Joe Cianciulli here with the Academy of Bel Canto and the Mystery Bel Canto podcast. We are bringing you Coup de Glotte today. As always, we are trying to bring the old world voice concepts to the modern day. The old world voice concepts of Bel Canto, voice teaching and voice building, to the modern day teachers so that you have more tools and are better equipped to work with the male voice specifically. So we are talking about Coup de Glotte. Coup de Glotte was misunderstood even in Garcia's day and age. You had two kind of schools. You had one that was in line with what Garcia was teaching, saying that Coup de Glotte creates the most optimal closure of the folds without excessive muscular tension. And then you have another school of thought that was essentially saying it's invasive, it's dangerous, and it could damage the voice. Now, I was taught that the coup de glotte is extremely important and very much applicable to the building of the closer connection so that you could connect posture to the release of resonance. This is something that the modern schools have kind of forgotten, that there is a connection between the release of resonance and the posture. This happens through building a correct sensation to what it feels like when you change the posture or make slight modifications to the posture as you're releasing resonance, but the coup de glotte is essential to this whole process. So what is coup de glotte? Coup de glotte is the opening of the vocal fold closure from the posture. So we've talked in other videos about the R.M. Evans 4-step breath process, what it feels like to allow breath to descend and then to naturally coordinate with the zipper effect and then stop the breath at the top of the folds. Like you're going to say, uh-oh. When you say uh-oh, there's a closure that happens at the top of the folds. Okay? But how do you open the closure to begin sound without muscling or squeezing or manipulating? And that was through coup de glotte technique. And we're not going to go into all the intrinsic aspects and the very in-depth aspects to building coup de glotte in the singer because it would be a very lengthy video and I want to keep this kind of short and digestible. But essentially, I'm going to give you an example. When you breathe in, okay, breath fills the body. Yeah, you have the descent of breath, you have the zipper effect, and you have the stoppage of breath at the top of the sternum. Now, oxygen is being converted into carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide wants to get out of the body, and you have pressure building up in the lungs. Yes, in the chest cavity. When you, with that closure, bring the sternum forward gently, maybe a ½ inch, and the shoulder blades together very slightly and subtly, what you're doing, the movement here, with the movement here in the sternum, is encouraging the lungs in, which allows the folds to release with intention to sing. Okay, so in the beginning, it's okay to diaphragmatically pulse gently. But you can hear how I'm only adjusting the posture. The belly tucks in a little bit, just gently in, and the sternum moves forward. So, we're creating very functional tones. Release of resonance and building a connection to the release of resonance and posture. But how does this apply to your repertoire? Well, whenever you have a vowel that starts a phrase, you are not going to add H, because when you add H, you're leaking air. And for the men, you're going to put them in a mixed voice. So for example, if I sing Una fortiva lagrima, and I leak air, Una, I'm in a mix. Yeah, a mix of falsetto and chest voice. Now, you can push into the chest cavity and you can squeeze to give the impression that you have more squillo. But this is still manipulating and it's going to fatigue the voice. A better way to approach it would be to apply coup de glotte. So, if I sing the una fortiva, una fortiva lagrima, you hear there's a gentle onset. The gentle closure of the folds is opened with the posture, and the amount of sound is allowed to release based on the singer's anatomy, based on the state of the folds for that day or that week or that month, but it's just simply from the posture shift. It's not grabbing or squeezing. So again, it's the same thing for the second verse. Dan always said, you're not going to give everything away. Singers today oftentimes give everything away. They push, they muscle, because they want to sound loud in the beginning. We don't do that with Bel Canto. With Bel Canto, we stop the breath and we allow whatever connection of resonance to posture will be released to be released, and that's okay. And over time, just singing with the basic connection and release of resonance through posture, the voice will build, because sound is built through a thickening of the folds. And that thickening happens over time, not from brute force squeezing them together. So again, second verse now. We start with una. Yes, no mixed voice, not una, and no muscled pharyngeal space. It just stays at the campana, it stays at the mustache line, and no excessive breathing in. So here. Un solo istante palpiti. And you get the clarity of the words. Una furtiva lacrima, un solo istante palpiti. Yes, without manipulating or muscling, and it sounds like your voice, most importantly. So if you have any questions about Coup de Glotte, feel free to reach out to us at the academyofbelcanto.com or through email, vocalmastery1 @gmail.com. We are always open to talk about Bel Canto and the Bel Canto voice building methods of Lottie Lehman, of John C. Wilcox, of Manuel Garcia, Modesti. These are all people that through Dan I documented the information, or as much as I could within the 10 years that I worked with him. If you have any questions or would like some clarity, feel free to reach out to us. We do have our online courses, we do have our books, and we do have our lessons being offered. And upcoming, we will have some more workshops, teacher workshops. But as always, as I said, I think in the last video, please be careful with this information. If you apply it to your own voice, we ask that you at least consult or schedule a consultation so we can kind of give you some helpful guidance and insights. We don't charge for recommendations. We don't charge for just having a discussion. But these are old world concepts, and they are very, very powerful. There is a power to vowels and consonants. There is a power to connecting them with the posture, and we want to make sure that everyone that applies these concepts does so with the full understanding that they can and will destabilize the voice, and they do so to encourage a regrowth and a rebuilding of the voice to a more free connection.